To determine if existing cables can be reused when replacing receptacles, start by verifying the cable type. Ensure that the existing cables meet the appropriate electrical codes and standards for the new receptacle type you intend to install. Secondly, inspect the receptacle installation. Remove the receptacle cover plate and visually inspect the receptacle to determine if it is factory installed or field installed. Factory installed receptacles will usually have a UL certification mark stamped on them or on the backbox. Thirdly, check the backbox approval. Inspect the backbox to confirm if it is approved for field installed receptacles. Look for markings indicating the backbox's approval for aftermarket receptacle installation. The Underwriters Laboratories UL safety certification is critical in electrical work. Field removing a UL factory installed receptacle and installing a non-UL listed receptacle can compromise the electrical system safety. While there is no specific UL qualification for electricians, it is recommended to hire experienced and licensed electricians familiar with the UL standards and industry best practices. A reputable electrician will ensure the proper installation of receptacles and backboxes in accordance with the electrical code and UL requirements. If the existing cables and backbox are compatible with the new receptacle, follow these steps for field installation. Firstly, turn off the power. Ensure that the power is turned off at the breaker or fuse box before starting any electrical work. Secondly, remove the old receptacle. Carefully remove the old receptacle and backbox. Thirdly, prepare the cables. Trim or strip the cable ends as necessary for the new receptacle. Fourthly, install the new receptacle. Fit the new receptacle into the backbox and secure it with screws. Fifthly, connect the cables. Connect the wires to the appropriate terminals on the receptacle. Sixthly, secure the backbox. Place the backbox into the wall and screw it into place. Finally, turn on the power. Restore power and test the receptacle to ensure proper operation. When dealing with electrical work, safety should always be the priority. Following these steps and consulting with a qualified electrician when needed will help ensure a safe and compliant installation. Understanding the types of cables involved is crucial. Common types include non-metallic NM cable, often referred to as Romex, which is used for interior wiring. Metal-clad MC cable provides a protective metal sheath suitable for exposed or concealed locations. An armored cable, AC, which is similar to MC cable but has a different construction. The cable type must be appropriate for the intended use and meet local electrical codes. Regarding receptacle types, standard duplex receptacles are the most common for general use. Ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI, receptacles are required in wet or damp locations like bathrooms and kitchens to prevent electrical shock. Arc fault circuit interrupter, AFSI, receptacles are used to protect against electrical fires caused by arcing faults. Each type serves a specific purpose and must be installed correctly. The electrical code, such as the National Electrical Code, NEC, provides detailed guidelines for electrical installations. It covers aspects like wire sizing, grounding, overcurrent protection, and installation methods. Compliance with the NEC is essential for safety and legal reasons. Local codes may also have additional requirements, so it is important to check with the local authorities. Wire sizing is determined by the amperage of the circuit and the type of wire. The NEC provides tables, such as Table 310.15. B16 that specify the allowable ampacities of insulated conductors. Using the correct wire size prevents overheating and potential fire hazards. Grounding is a critical safety measure. It provides a path for fault current to return to the source, tripping the circuit breaker or fuse. Proper grounding reduces the risk of electrical shock. Grounding systems must be installed according to NEC Article 250. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, protect the wiring from overloads and short circuits. They are designed to interrupt the current flow when it exceeds the rated capacity of the wiring. The size of the overcurrent protection device must match the ampacity of the wiring. When inspecting receptacles, look for signs of damage, such as cracks, discoloration, or loose connections. These can indicate potential safety hazards. Replace any damaged receptacles immediately. Also, ensure that the receptacle is securely mounted in the back box. Loose receptacles can cause arcing and overheating. When working with electrical circuits, always use appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, such as insulated gloves and safety glasses. This will help protect you from electrical shock and other injuries. Before starting any electrical work, use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is energized. Test each wire to ensure that no voltage is present. Even after turning off the breaker, there may still be voltage present due to backfeeds or other issues. When connecting wires to receptacles, ensure that the connections are tight and secure. Loose connections can cause arcing and overheating. Use the correct type of wire connector for the application. Wire connectors should be listed for the type of wire being used. When installing receptacles in metal backboxes, ensure that the backbox is properly grounded. This is typically done by connecting a ground wire to the backbox. The ground wire should be connected to the grounding system of the building. When working with GFCI receptacles, follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and testing. GFCI receptacles should be tested monthly to ensure that they are functioning properly. If a GFCI receptacle trips frequently, it may indicate a ground fault in the circuit. When working with FSI receptacles, follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and testing. SI receptacles should be tested monthly to ensure that they are functioning properly. If an FSI receptacle trips frequently, it may indicate an arcing fault in the circuit. When replacing receptacles, consider upgrading to tamper-resistant receptacles, TRR, especially in homes with young children. TRR have internal shutters that prevent children from inserting objects into the slots. When installing receptacles in new construction, consider using a combination of SI/GFCI breaker to provide both arc fault and ground fault protection. This can simplify the wiring and reduce the number of receptacles that need to be replaced. When working with older wiring, be aware that the insulation may be brittle or damaged. Handle the wires carefully to avoid damaging the insulation. If the insulation is damaged, it may need to be replaced. When working with aluminum wiring, use special connectors that are designed for use with aluminum wire. Aluminum wire expands and contracts more than copper wire, which can cause loose connections if the wrong type of connector is used. When installing receptacles outdoors, use weatherproof receptacles and covers. This will protect the receptacles from moisture and corrosion. Weatherproof receptacles and covers should be listed for outdoor use. When installing receptacles in hazardous locations, use receptacles and enclosures that are designed for use in those locations. Hazardous locations may contain flammable gases, vapors, or dusts. Receptacles and enclosures for hazardous locations must be explosion-proof or intrinsically safe. When working with high-voltage circuits, such as 277 volts or 480 volts, take extra precautions to avoid electrical shock. Use appropriate PPE and follow all safety procedures. High-voltage circuits can be lethal. When installing receptacles in hospitals or other healthcare facilities, follow the special requirements for healthcare facilities. Healthcare facilities have strict requirements for grounding and isolation to protect patients from electrical shock. When working with electrical equipment, always follow the manufacturer's instructions. The manufacturer's instructions provide important information about the proper installation and operation of the equipment. When in doubt, consult with a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician has the knowledge and experience to perform electrical work safely and correctly. Electrical work can be dangerous, so it is important to take all necessary precautions. Always turn off the power before starting any electrical work and use appropriate PPE. Following these guidelines will help ensure a safe and compliant electrical installation. Remember that electrical codes and regulations can vary depending on the location. It is important to check with the local authorities to ensure that you are following the correct requirements. Additionally, staying updated on the latest electrical codes and best practices is essential for maintaining safety and compliance. Consider attending electrical training courses or workshops to enhance your knowledge and skills. Continuous learning is crucial in the electrical field to keep up with advancements in technology and safety standards. Regular inspections of electrical systems can help identify potential problems before they become major hazards. Schedule periodic inspections by a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical system is in good working order. Keep a record of all electrical work performed, including permits, inspections, and maintenance. This documentation can be helpful for future reference and for demonstrating compliance with regulations. When planning electrical projects, consider energy efficiency. Use energy-efficient lighting and appliances to reduce energy consumption and lower utility bills. Energy-efficient electrical systems can also contribute to a more sustainable environment. Consider the long-term costs and benefits of different electrical options. While some options may have a higher initial cost, they may offer significant savings over time due to reduced energy consumption or lower maintenance requirements. Always prioritize safety over cost when making electrical decisions. Cutting corners on safety can have serious consequences. Invest in quality materials and workmanship to ensure a safe and reliable electrical system. Educate yourself and others about electrical safety. Share your knowledge with family members, friends, and colleagues to promote a culture of safety. By working together, we can create a safer environment for everyone. When evaluating existing cables for reuse, pay close attention to their condition. Look for signs of damage, such as cuts, abrasions, or discoloration. Damaged cable should be replaced rather than reused. Check the insulation of the cables to ensure that it is in good condition. Brittle or cracked insulation can be a safety hazard. If the insulation is damaged, the cable should be replaced. Inspect the connectors and terminals in the cables to ensure that they are clean and tight. Loose or corrosive connections can cause overheating and electrical problems. Clean and tighten any loose connections or replace the connectors if necessary. When reusing cables, be sure to label them properly. This will help prevent confusion and ensure that the cables are connected to the correct terminals. Use a permanent marker or label maker to create clear and legible labels. When working with electrical panels, be aware of the potential hazards. Electrical panels contain live circuits that can cause serious injury or death. Only qualified electricians should work on electrical panels. When working with electrical panels, always wear appropriate PPE such as insulated gloves and safety glasses. Use a voltage tester to verify that the circuits are de-energized before working on them. When removing or replacing circuit breakers, be sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions. Circuit breakers should be properly sized for the circuit they are protecting. When installing new circuits, be sure to obtain the necessary permits and inspections. Electrical permits and inspections help ensure that the work is performed safely and in accordance with code. Keep a copy of the electrical permit and inspection report for your records. This documentation can be helpful for future reference and for demonstrating compliance with regulations. When working with electrical systems, always be aware of your surroundings. Avoid working in wet or damp conditions and be careful not to come into contact with any conductive materials. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical work, consult with a qualified electrician. It is always better to be safe than sorry. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, but by following these guidelines and taking the necessary precautions, you can minimize the risks and ensure a safe and compliant electrical installation. Proper planning and preparation are essential for any electrical project. Take the time to plan your project carefully and gather all the necessary materials and tools before you begin. This will help ensure that the project goes smoothly and that the results are satisfactory. When selecting electrical materials, choose quality products that are designed for the intended application. Avoid using cheap or substandard materials, as they may not perform as expected and could pose a safety hazard. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for installing electrical materials. The manufacturer's instructions provide important information about the proper installation and operation of the equipment. When terminating wires, use the correct type of wire connector for the application. Wire connectors should be listed for the type of wire being used and should be properly sized for the number and size of wires being connected. When installing electrical boxes, ensure that they are securely mounted and properly supported. Electrical boxes should be installed in accordance with code and should be accessible for future maintenance and repairs. When running electrical conduit, use the correct type of conduit for the application. Electrical conduit should be installed in accordance with code and should be properly supported. When installing electrical equipment outdoors, use weatherproof enclosures and fittings. Weatherproof enclosures and fittings should be listed for outdoor use and should be properly installed. When working with underground wiring, use direct burial cable or conduit. Direct burial cable and conduit should be installed in accordance with code and should be properly marked. When working with swimming pool wiring, follow the special requirements for swimming pools. Swimming pool wiring should be installed in accordance with code and should be inspected by a qualified electrician. When working with fire alarm systems, follow the special requirements for fire alarm systems. Fire alarm systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be inspected by a qualified technician. When working with emergency power systems, follow the special requirements for emergency power systems. Emergency power systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be tested regularly. When working with renewable energy systems, follow the special requirements for renewable energy systems. Renewable energy systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be inspected by a qualified installer. When working with electric vehicle charging stations, follow the special requirements for electric vehicle charging stations. Electric vehicle charging stations should be installed in accordance with code and should be inspected by a qualified electrician. When working with industrial control systems, follow the special requirements for industrial control systems. Industrial control systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be inspected by a qualified technician. When working with data communication systems, follow the special requirements for data communication systems. Data communication systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be tested by a qualified technician. When working with security systems, follow the special requirements for security systems. Security systems should be installed in accordance with code and should be tested by a qualified technician.